Right. Vic, it's a pleasure to have you on the Positive Podcast again. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Adam. Thank you very much for having me on again. I
No,
miss having good conversation with you and Greg and Brian, and here we are. Uh, Greg, as you mentioned, couldn't make it today. I think it's got something to do with him saying I was 75 years old on my birthday today. So
he's just planted that seed there, hasn't he, in his life?
he
On
planted
God.
it.
It's like lighting a fuse on a grenade and walking away.
Yeah, yeah.
But no,
It's all good.
happy birthday,
Thank
and
you.
hope your day's going well so far.
Oh yes, yes. The team got me a really nice cheesecake. One of my supervisors made it. The team made me feel very special today, and my children are here to celebrate with me. We're going out for dinner right afterwards, so everything's cool.
No, that's awesome. That's great news, man. And yeah, happy birthday, and hope you have a nice time later.
Thank you, thank you.
And we talked about some topics earlier, and I was throwing some across, and some of the topics in mind were, like corporate burnout, people burning out in companies, the culture sometimes where it's been accepted. I think more recently, I think some corporate companies might not accept it. They might deal with it a certain way. I know is it in Norway and places like that, Scandinavia, they are quite chill with people having time off and things like
Yes.
that. But I think it's an important thing that I've noticed sometimes, and find it quite concerning. And I think it's not good. And I just wondered, what was your take on it? Because you work in business, don't you? And is there anything that you've
Yes.
come across in the past and like your views on it and how to manage people?
Yep. Corporate burnout or burnout in general is definitely, I guess you could say it's actually a hidden disease or hidden affliction. It's some industries. When I was in automotive is extremely fast paced. You're constantly putting out fires. You're getting paid to think fast, act fast, and in some aspects, it's almost a badge of honor if you're stressed out. Um, when you're younger, that's great. You think being stressed out and multitasking and carrying so many different hats and responsibilities, you think that that's going to get you up the chain faster. Yes and no. Um, if you've got like 100 people that are breaking their neck for the company, you're only going to have a few of them that actually are those picture perfect cases that Bob worked up from the floor and now he's the CEO. You're only going to have a few cases of that, and at the end of the day, it affects your health so much down the road. When I was younger, I was very much a go-getter. I was just all over everything, and that's how I built my reputation. Fast paced, fast thinking. I had all the answers. You could ask me anything, I'd figure it out. Um, if I had to work a 14-hour day, not a problem. Now that I'm getting older, it's I seem to appreciate more downtime than I do work. So if I got asked to work a 14-hour day today, the first thing I'd ask is it really necessary? so so it's your mindset changes as you grow older, mostly because you've abused your body, abused your mindset, abused everything about you, and now your body's just like it's scared to do it. And I see it all the time in a lot of corporations. um, there is a huge mental health push in Canada and the United States. There is companies that are really pushing downtime, family time, work-life balance. um, Unfortunately, we had a changing of the guard at my company. Our chief operating officer, left, and we have a new one that's very, very about downtime. If I have a day off and I answer an email, he literally will fire back saying, like, "What are you doing? It's your day off. Relax." right? That's actually the first time I've ever heard that in my career where somebody has told me, don't email on your day off. Relax. That's what you need to do today. And to me, when he first said it, I almost felt a little offended. Like, why are you trying to keep me away from the business? Like, what's going down? Right. But I realize what a compassionate individual he is about the fact that, you know, you need downtime to keep this straight, which in turn, you know, helps business. But yeah, corporate burnout is a very common thing. And one of the ways around it is to try and build that culture where you respect people's time. Um, if you work in an industry that has a lot of overtime, you know, you might want to try and cycle it around to try and give people breaks. Um, I've seen that a lot too, you know, especially with maintenance staff. Maintenance staff fixes everything, and quite often they can't work on machinery unless it's the weekend and everything's down. So then, in most institutions, I'd probably say the better part of all institutions, maintenance are the ones that put in the most amount of overtime. But at the same time, as they're young, that's great. You make lots of money, you buy the house, have the cool truck, all that stuff. But once you get older, and you know, I've seen maintenance individuals that are 50 years old and they hobble around like they're 90 because their knees are shot, their backs are shot. They've done 100-hour work weeks. Um, and yeah, it's great, but you have no quality of life, you know, when you get older. And the big push for me is as I'm getting older with all the martial arts I've done, which is rough on the body. You know, I played rugby when I was younger, wrestling. Trust me, I have so many aches and pains. So now driving into my career, now I'm actually probably the past 3, 4 years, I've been really seriously thinking about, is this healthy? Do I need to disconnect? Right. And that's the big push. I think a lot of companies need to build that culture. Do you need to disconnect? Just ask the question. Can you work overtime or do you need to disconnect? Most companies are like, can you work overtime? I need you. Right. So they're not asking that critical question. Do you need to disconnect? Some people are going to say yes. Um, Here in North America, we also do a lot of mandating. Um, if orders spike, customers start buying stuff like crazy. Instead of going out and hiring 20 people, they'll just mandate and force people to work on Saturday. But once again, if you get into that mandating, that's where you would want to try and cycle it. So one individual comes in this Saturday and makes a sacrifice, and then you automatically try and give them the next weekend off. A lot of what I've seen in certain industries, that doesn't happen. It's just, well, you got to come in, period. Right. Now, my industry, we don't get into mandating too much. We're not critical. We're not going to shut down a huge factory if we don't supply parts. You know, we're in more of the, I guess you could say, construction industry, kitchen cabinetry. So it's not ultra critical that I have people there on the weekend, unless of course I have a lot of down equipment. But yeah, it's an ongoing plague, I guess you could say. And the culture that really needs to be more like Europe. You hear a lot of countries out there that are embracing the 4-day work week and work life balance, and you can only work X amount of hours in a week, and then you have to rest. And to me, I think that's building a much structured environment for mental health, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, you've offered some really great insights into, your past career working in places and corporate culture and, seeing burnout in people and the system. And I think, like, as you said, you need that kind of fine balance, don't you? And if someone has to come in the weekend, maybe do X amount of hours, do you know what I mean? And then knock off.
Yeah,
But it's just talking about this topic reminded me of when I used to work in hotels, and that is a lot of the time short staffed, stressful, long hours. and unsociable hours as well. And you can't. I remember working in one particular hotel probably about 6 years ago, if not more. And I remember the manager got fired, so I
Yeah.
just someone put me on his rota to cover all his breakfast splits. So I had about 13 days, I think, or 10 between 10 and 13 days of just straight breakfast split shifts. And
Wow.
I couldn't really say no. I had to kind of hold the fort. Well, I felt like I had to hold the fort. So I did it. But then I didn't want to speak to anyone. I didn't want to see anyone afterwards because my energy wasn't there. Do you know what I mean? So it's counterproductive because you can work all those hours and then you're too tired. You're kind of recovering on your days off and sometimes all
Mm-hmm.
the hours you put in. And you see that in chefs and certain industries across the board where it's just go, go, go. And I think, chefing is like one of those industries in hospitality, isn't it? And
Yeah.
you're dealing with difficult people. Sometimes you might get people who are intoxicated and they're shouting at you. Um, yeah, so I think you have to. I think I've noticed. I mean, I'm 31 now, and I'm paying more attention to my energy because I think I do a lot in my current role, in my current job, and I do a lot anyway. I go to the gym. Do you know what I mean? I see family and kind of fly around a lot. And a couple of weeks ago, I was ill. There was like a lot of flu going around and stuff, but I never really
Yeah.
get ill. And I had my first day off in 2 years, and my boss was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I was, she was like, "You're never off," and I was like, "I know, but it's." But I think I just reached the point where I guess I was stressed out with the house situation because I'm currently buying a house, and I think I was probably overdid it one week,
Yeah.
and I got a cold. But that cold made me stop and reflect. Do you know what I mean? On my energy and my time, and making sure I have downtime, and it's okay to not go to the gym. It's okay to not do certain things. Do you know what I mean? You have to kind of
Mm-hmm.
wind down.
Yes. Yes. Very true. Very true. That's funny. I'm going on probably 4 or 5 years. I haven't been sick. And it's funny because some of my workers say, like, you're always here, don't you ever get sick? And I love garlic.
Yeah,
My family doesn't love that I love garlic,
yeah,
but I love garlic. Now, I try not to consume a lot of garlic during the week when I'm at work because I do, when you have a lot of garlic, you can see your workers back up.
yeah,
So I try to consume a lot on the weekends. And my kids, they say to me, like, why do you eat so much garlic? And I said, the zombie vampire apocalypse is coming and they won't touch
yeah,
me. And they
yeah.
all think I'm just crazy, but I don't get sick. So now,
It's like
knock on wood, you watch next week, I'll be sick.
yeah, you'll have to like find something else to use, like lemon juice or like drink something.
Yeah.
It is interesting. Isn't it? I think it's a fine balance, and like if people have busy lives anyway with family and work and things like that. But I think if you can do something that helps you wind down or relax, isn't it? I think especially the weekend, if you have weekends off, to do something where you can chill and relax and wind down, whatever that is. And I think we're all different, aren't we? And it's trying to find something that helps you, whether that's reading or listening to music or, you know, going to the gym one day or martial arts. But I think it's a balance. If you're doing that all the time or too much of it, it can go the other way.
Yeah. Um, well, I do see, like, I have friends that are absolutely addicted to the gym. If they miss a day, like on a Saturday, they just, they obsess about it. To me, I think, like, it's great if you're a bodybuilder or
Mm,
you're like in fitness competitions. Yeah, you have to make that sacrifice. But if you're just working in a factory or working in an office, and you get a little too obsessed, you're trading one obsession with the other. And
Yeah.
to me, what I try and do is I try and get to the gym a few times a week.
Mm.
In the summer, spring, summer, and fall, I'm more active because I can take my dog for an hour long walk. But when it's
Mm.
so cold, it hurts his paws and he does not like the
Yeah.
cold. So I do find traditionally in the winter, I actually gain probably 20 pounds. And then in spring, I start shedding it because I can walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I try to stay active. Um, my diet, everybody should have a good diet. And now that I am getting older and I was just diagnosed with high blood pressure and cholesterol, a lot
Mm.
of it had to do with my diet. I
Mm.
love uh, fatty meats, like I love prime rib, I love steak, but you know, things are good for you in small amounts. And
Yeah. Yeah.
to me, I would think nothing to have steak 4 nights a week is the
Yeah.
greatest time of my life. But then my doctor said to me about 6 months ago, enough. So I have to listen to him, or I'm not going to be around much longer.
Yeah.
So yeah, diet is a big thing. Small amounts. Working out. Work out 3, 4 times a week. But if you make it now 6, 7 times a week, and
Yeah. It's too much.
you become too obsessed, it's not necessarily healthy either. And I had a friend that passed away just last summer.
Yeah.
Physically fit, 47 years old, worked out at the gym constantly, tons of cardio machine, and just had a heart attack. A lot of
Wow.
people think that if I'm at the gym 6 days a week, 7 days a week, obsessing,
Mm.
can't miss a workout, I'm going to live forever. No, life is not guaranteed. Um,
Yeah.
you can die in a car accident tomorrow. You can be super physically fit and have a heart attack just out of the blue. Like
Mm.
it's never, to me, I think it's once again work life balance. But in that life balance, you also have to have, an obsession, but not overly obsessed, right?
Yeah.
So
No.
everything in small measures or medium measures, and make sure your family and stuff is not suffering from it, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I think it's completely true what you said, and I think if you've noticed it or you've been in it, you can kind of see it in other people more, and you can kind of pull them aside and say, maybe just chill a bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Was it in England? Was people say, "Keep calm and carry on"? Do you know what I mean?
Yes, keep calm, carry on.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's an important topic, isn't it? And it kind of goes in different, lots of different layers. And I think also, how would you say how you speak to people, how you manage people in places, has an effect. People are more happier, aren't they, if they've got, nicer bosses, giving respect and saying good job and things like that.
Yes, yes. That's something that I've really had to struggle with when I came out of automotive. Automotive is a lot of high stakes, a lot of passion. When I was in automotive, you're very direct. It's like this needs to be done immediately. Get it done. Period. Right. And then you come out of automotive, walk out to somebody and say, "This needs to get done. Get it done. No excuses." And then next thing you know, it's like they're in shock. They're like, "Oh my God, he's so mean." And I'm like, "What do you mean mean? I was just talking to you like normal, right?" So I've had to slowly, I took various programs on emotional intelligence. Um, and then you have to really think before you speak, especially when you're trying to get people engaged in like mental awareness and stuff. You really have to just think before you speak, and that's a big one. Breathe. When somebody asks you a question, breathe. You know, in automotive, seconds were dollars, minutes were thousands of dollars. Um, and if your factory put down a car manufacturer, it was like thousands and thousands of dollars a minute that they would levy back to the company to pay for the overhead that was sitting there waiting for your parts. So automotive was just very boom, get it done, get it done. Um, Now you get out of that mindset, and now you actually, I'm in an industry with, I guess you could say, like just kind of normal people, right? So now it's like, hey, can you help me out? Can we get this done? This is what I'd like to focus on. Can we double back and take a look at this issue? Just walk me through what's going on. And just being a little bit more pleasant in communicating goes such a long way. And then it's always it's always good when I hear a worker talking to somebody else or they give feedback and say, hey, Bill thinks you're a really cool boss. You're a very empathetic boss. You're a very supportive boss. To me, that means a lot. Um, you hear it sometimes, you hear it in bits and spurts. Sometimes I'll hear it for, many times, and then all of a sudden, like 6, 8 months goes by, and then I'm kind of sitting there thinking, am I being a good leader? Right. And then all of a sudden somebody comes up and says, hey, this employee is raving on about you, and I'm like, oh, there it is. But and being a leader, honestly, it some days it's, God, I wish I was just a janitor, honestly, because if you have 100 people, you have 100 different personalities. So and to try and get the same message across to every single person, especially in my facility. And there's a lot of facilities here in Canada right now. We have a lot of people applying for immigration. So you have different languages, different cultures. So trying to learn each of those, it can be really crazy some days. I know, some of my Spanish cultures, you talk this way and laugh and joke that way, and some of my employees from India, I would talk this way and congratulate them on certain festivals they're bringing forward. And there's always different cultures and different festivals. And when I hear about it, I go down and make sure I touch base with the employees. That way, everybody's inclusive, right? There's no one certain culture or segment of team that you ignore. You try and touch everything, and at the same time, as a leader, it pushes you to understand more cultures, and there's such a large world out there. That's one thing that I'm a foodie, and trust me, I can talk to anybody on the street because I just spark up a conversation about, hey, where are you from? Oh, you're from Brazil. Hey, I heard they got really good steakhouses. And then literally, I've seen courses where people try and teach you small talk, to try and break the ice. Me, I have no problems doing that. I just, a completely unknown person, I'll just walk up and, hey, where are you from? And then just start talking food, and they'll be chattering away and I'll be chattering away. Next thing you know, 45 minutes went past and I don't even know the person's name, but I know everything about their culture and their food, right? But yeah, the more you get in depth with the cultures and embrace everybody in the workplace, it really builds the dynamics, right? It makes them feel like they've been heard and they're accepted.
Mm. Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I can see myself in you because I'm like that. I
Mhm.
think with people, I
Yeah.
connect with people, and it doesn't feel like hard work, like as you said, and it doesn't matter who it
No.
is or what about. And
Yeah.
it's making me think of a conversation I had earlier with a farmer, and I live in a place called Cornwall, and they're called Cornish, so the Cornish farmers, and
Yeah.
he was talking about the weather, and then he was talking about like sheep and lambing, and he said it's really bad weather for the baby sheep, And I have no idea about any of that stuff. And I said to him, "Well, does the weather give them like flu and stuff?" And he went, "No, no, no." He said it just kills them. And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just really like point, very straight." And it's obviously his career, so he's used to that. And I was like, but it was just interesting because I'm a completely different person. I won't last 5 minutes on a phone, but I was having a conversation with about it, and some other guy joined in as well. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. But as you said, the more accepting and inclusive you are of, all people and their backgrounds, I think it makes you feel alive, doesn't it? Because you're meeting different people, and especially if you've
Yes.
been there, like, especially like Mexico. But if you have been there or Spain or somewhere, and you can touch base with the culture and have a conversation, it's quite something, isn't it? Because you might make a new friend.
Yes. 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 Trying to build that inclusivity in the workplace is, to me, I think it's pinnacle.
Mm,
Um, yeah, learning different cultures, like because I've traveled to Mexico many times and have many stories. But because I've traveled there, a lot of my workers that speak Spanish from Venezuela, Colombia,
mm,
Mexico, El Salvador. I try to speak a little bit of Spanglish.
mm,
My Spanish is basic, but I understand what they're trying to tell me, um, and then I kind of piece together, how to respond some days. But they really appreciate that and see me working
mm,
um, just as hard as they're working for me. So
mm,
um, Portuguese, I've tried my hand at Portuguese, which is similar to Spanish. Arabic, I only know a few words here and there, and but when you just learn how to say hello to somebody in a different language, it sets them back for a minute, but then they start thinking, this guy's pretty cool, right?
mm,
Because it's not just me there directing business and saying, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that because I pay you to do this. No, it's like we're all here, we're all getting paid, and it's kind of like a family, but at the same time, it is a business. So
mm,
we have to understand to draw that line that this is not just a family here. This is business.
mm,
Um, and I've seen that bite some people where they become very close to their employees. And then when it comes time to lay off or downsize or anything like that, they get very emotional, very stressed out. So it's one of those things where, when you get close to your employees, keep it professional and always know that this is still a business. If customers don't order anything, I can't keep 100 employees here, right? I may have to downsize. And yeah, we don't want to see people go. So that's where, like, when I'm very inclusive, I still keep it professional. I have lots of friends, friends at work that will ask me to come over for dinner, come meet my family. Hey, you love the food I brought in. I want you to meet my wife. And it's like, okay, you're a great worker, you're a great team member. I'm very engaged with you, but I can't do that because now you're starting to get too close to the family, too close to the worker. And if next week I have to make a decision on business, that's extremely stressful, right? And it can take a lot. I've seen it happen many times, and it's not the greatest, but being inclusive is very important in the
mm.
environment.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think they're great points. And I think you've got to have that fine line and balance, haven't you, of, work
Yes,
and friends and things like that. Because I've seen it in hospitality and hotels go completely sideways, people being with people who they're working with, and you spending too much time together, and then you're not focusing on your job because the front of house staff, do you know what I mean, are in a relationship. And
yes,
I just stayed out of all that. I've seen all the chaos unfold in front of me, and I thought it's not for me. But my dad, I was working a lot of hotel with my dad, and my dad was the chef. My dad always used to say, you're a reflection of me. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, do your job, iron your clothes, look smart, do the best you got to do. Do you know what I mean? Because if
yeah,
you mess up or do something stupid, people are looking at me like, oh, that's your son. So I
yeah,
kind of like learned that quite early on, which probably helped. Um,
yes.
but but it made you talking about it made me think of The Office. Like Michael Scott, the actor, the TV series, The American Office.
Yes.
And there's a scene where he has to fire someone and he can't do it, and he's like, and they're like, how about you know you have some time off, and I'll think about like what you need to do.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just boundaries.
There's been times where I've had to downsize people, and like human resources is like basically, okay, we're gonna have to downsize, and let's talk to the union, and then these 10 people got to go, and I had a pretty good relationship with several of my team members, and I specifically requested to let me talk to them and give them the news. Um, and that's because it was I knew they would have questions, and HR is there to protect our business. I have a really good HR business partner at my facility, but sometimes HR can be very cold. This is what's happening. Can't help you. Bye bye. Checks in the mail. Um, and they're doing their job. But sometimes
Mm.
when you have somebody that's really they've gone above and beyond for the company, and now all of a sudden we don't have the sales, and they're the least senior person, and you know sometimes it's kind of good to have somebody friendly to break the news to. And I have had several people that I've had to downsize, and I've done it myself. And I guess you could say it's successful. They weren't there anymore, so that's not successful, but it was more successful in their mental health and letting them down in a proper professional manner, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's the approach, isn't it? How you deliver it and all of that.
yeah.
I've yeah, I've seen it the other way. Where it's like get out and it doesn't always go well. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I've in
Yeah,
my 32 years of manufacturing, I've seen some HRs that they'll just line you up at the door and say, "You're done. You're done." They're like a machine, right? But
it should be
some
45.
human resources in my past have been pretty wild, and then some
Yeah.
are just I have a human resources individual that I worked with. Her name is Sheila. I worked with her for several years, and she is so memorable. And still to this day, she's an impact in my life, and we're
Mm.
very good friends. And because just the way she dealt with certain issues, it was brilliant. She used a lot of emotional intelligence. She used empathy, but she knew where to cut it off and remain
Mm.
professional and business, right? Which is hard to do because if you give too much empathy, it's almost like you're saying, "Hey, you got to go, but maybe you should stay." And when it comes to the business, it's defined. I'm losing
Yeah.
money here. I need to make this decision. Done, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, Sheila and I were still very close friends, and I hold her in very high regard. And she's always been there for me, and I've been there for her.
No,
Yeah,
great. No, great stuff. And it's good when you
yeah,
meet people like that and you can work with some good people. It really makes a massive change. And
yes, yes,
no, yeah, no, I think it's a really good topic, and I really appreciate your insights into your experience and your views on it, because I think a lot of people will benefit from watch and listen to this, because there's a lot of people who work for different places, different workplaces, who might be experiencing burnout. They might need to listen to this to take a step back and slow down a little bit. Um, yeah, no, I really appreciate your time, Vic, and it's been great having you on the podcast. And is there anything that you're working on? Well, you got that charity, the thing you're doing. Anything you want to promote? Because you do.
yep. We're doing. every year since 2019. I actually started doing the polar plunge uh, because I didn't know what to get my son for his birthday. So I thought, hey, life experience. Let's go for
Mm.
a polar plunge. He'll definitely never forget that birthday gift, right? So then him and I just kept going. Now in 2021, we were in lockdown, so we didn't do it 2021, but 19, 20, 22, and right up till now, we've done it. And we get dressed up in chicken costumes. Our team is called the Chili Chickens. And what we do is we raise money for Child Can, and that is a nonprofit organization that raises and donates money to children affected by cancer and their families. Um, because let's face it, if a child has cancer, they're in the hospital for months on end. Um, we're going to try and promote that at least one parent be there with the child instead of both mom and dad have to work and you're on your own. So this obviously costs money. Like families can't just operate just dropping down to one income overnight. So this is great nonprofit. It's for children, and we believe in it strongly. Obviously, if we didn't, we wouldn't be we wouldn't be swimming in the cold lake. Last year was very cold. A couple of the winters before that, they were mild winters. Um, so it was almost like a day at the beach. But this year is going to be it's going to be cold. It's going to be very cold. But yeah, people can get a hold of me on LinkedIn, Instagram, anything like that. Um, or you can go straight to the Child Can website and search out the chili chickens. Um, obviously, if people want to are in the area and want to swim with us, that'd be awesome. The more the merrier. Right now, I think we got 7 or 8 team members. So plugging away. Donations are a little down this year. It's a lot of the economic time. There's a lot of businesses that are ailing and sales are down. So, but at the same time, we're trying to drive that message home. You know, let's take care of those children first, right?
Yeah, no, most definitely. And I think it's a great cause that you're running and what you're taking part in to, raise money for them as well. I think it's great. And, one year I'll have to fly over and take a plunge and dress up.
Oh, perfect.
Being British, it's going to be like probably 100 times cold for me. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm cold right now and it's only, I think, 12 degrees or something like that outside. So, or 10.
Yeah, it went from like minus 18 degrees Celsius, and
Minus
today is
18.
like yeah, and today, well, the past few days it's been raining and it's been +1. And when I came home, I just had a shirt on and I went and walked the dog in 1 degree temperatures. Because to me, after having minus 18, that's brutal cold, or minus 20. And then you go out in 1 degree, it's almost like a spring day for us.
Yeah. Gee, that's
But
crazy when you say it like that to me. Because our weight was -2, and I was freezing like in the winter, January
yeah,
if it was, I think it hit -2 or -3. And I was like, I kept thinking of you because I know it's like much colder where you are.
yes, yes. So far this year, we had a few days and actually almost a full week with a Arctic vortex. And with the wind chill factor is about minus 30, minus 32 degrees Celsius at night, which is really cold.
Yeah, you don't want to be out in that weather. You won't wake up the next day, would you? I imagine
Yeah, yeah,
if you was in
that's
a
a little
tent.
too cold. But
But no, it's great what you're doing, and I wish you all the best of it. And pass me the links, and I'll share it out and put it out there for you with this.
excellent. Thank you
But
so much, sir.
no, you're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your birthday, Vic, and thank you everyone for listening.
Okay. Thank you so much, Adam.
Cheers, Ed. You're welcome, man.
Talk soon.
Take care. See
Yeah.
you soon, man.
See you soon.